Hello everyone. Welcome back to Sustainable Living with Shilpa Reddy, powered by Planet Green's Farm Natura, a new beginning to your life. Today is the first episode of Dates County Nature's Tycoon, where I will interact with a young generation entrepreneur who will talk about sustainopreneurship and conscious businesses. Her brand made a very promising mark in the beauty market. Let's welcome Megha, the founder of Juicy Chemistry. Hi Megha. Welcome to Sustainable Living with Shilpa Reddy. And I'm really honored to have a fellow entrepreneur on my show.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. It's an absolute pleasure and thrilled to be here to have a chat with you.
Likewise. So I learnt about what you studied, from criminology to journalism, right. Working at a reputed media firm, to starting your clothing line, to now running a successful beauty brand. How did it all start and how was the transition?
Well, to be honest, I thank my mom for making me, jack of all trades, right? Okay. And she made sure that I could actually master some of it. So I think circumstances, make you adapt very quickly. So when I went to study criminology, the idea was very clear. I wanted to make a difference and come back and specialize with prison architecture and do something with the government. But what you aspire for sometimes is really difficult to actually materialize, especially when you're working in a country where the thought processes are very different. I studied abroad. I didn't study here, so the way of workings, the way of operations were very different. So I thought journalism would be a good start to highlight some of the features of criminology and then maybe pave my way through. So that's how I started working in journalism. I've of course done my master's in journalism, but the idea was always to bring in crime and journalism together through the psychology route. It wasn't necessarily like reporting crime journalism,
right.
But highlighting the actual issues that we are facing in a society. And it worked really well for a while. I was blessed with an excellent team, an excellent features editor who allowed me to be at my creative best. It's only when Pritesh and I, we've been together since the last 22 years, my husband. We met in high school.
Okay.
And
high school sweethearts.
Yes. So we even studied in Australia together. We went back, and when we came back, he had to come back because of some family responsibilities. So I had to shift back, and at that point it was coming to Coimbatore where there was very little awareness with regards to criminology. So I had to find something to do besides just writing features or writing something that may not materialize into something concrete. And at that point I started my design line because I'd always been passionate. I've never worn ready to wear. I've always worn customized clothing, from childhood. My mom was very passionate about it.
Oh, I think that I can totally resonate with what you just said.
She was always like, I have to get something special done for her. So, so it came very naturally to me, and it seemed like a fantastic market in Coimbatore at that point. 13 years back, you didn't have a lot of pret wear, and it became a fabulous opportunity to start something of my own in a new city. So that's how it started. Juicy Chemistry primarily was born out of a desperation because our family business was not doing well. We had to close it down, and it came to a point where the clothing business alone was not going to help survive because my workshop and everything was in Bombay. It wasn't a very practical way to operate. And I personally was suffering with PCOD. I had a lot of skin troubles, and while I was in Bombay, Australia, I used to do my treatments and I used to, follow up and do all what was required. But once I shifted to Coimbatore, it became difficult, with the financial situation that we were in. So we literally thought, let's just look for some decent products that can help with maintaining the skin, not do something magical. Just simple, natural, organic stuff that might just help. It was just literally one Sunday we came across a product and we saw And I told Pritesh, I said, look, this looks really good. I think, this is a new product and they're saying it's all natural. And he was just playing around with the product, right? He just turned it around and he saw some of the ingredients and he said, hey, these are ingredients we used to use at the petrochemical industry, like
Oh God.
unit, because they were into manufacturing of, automobile oils and petroleum jelly and the likes of it, right? So he said, we use this. So as consumers, we were taken aback because you don't really expect that in a natural product.
Absolutely not.
When we saw that, we said, okay, there's something wrong here. And I said, okay, let me try baby care, right? Like, I mean, that might be safer bet. It might be gentle on my skin. Again, we saw some of the ingredients, right?
Wow.
So it's only when we started talking to friends and family, we realized there was a huge gap and nobody really knew why these ingredients were there. And I mean, of course, at a later stage, you understand from a formulation point of view why a particular ingredient might be used. But as consumers, it didn't feel right. Claiming a product to be natural or Ayurvedic or the likes and having these ingredients.
Right.
And that's how the research actually started, because I had a lot of backing in research. I had a lot of understanding of how to study research papers. I started reading more and more about ingredients and we literally started juicy chemistry with 5,000 rupees in our 10 by 10 kitchen.
Yeah. Really?
Yes, it was like nighttime experiments, trying to figure out, if we can actually make something that's pure and organic, if it's claiming to be pure and organic.
Right.
So.
That was a beautiful journey. That is, and a lot more to go.
Absolutely.
But that's fascinating, really.
It's, now that we've come 8 years down the line, it feels like yesterday, when we were doing it. So, yeah.
So, beauty industry is booming, and what suggestions would you give to consumers who are wanting to invest in a product or a brand in this space, and what should they be looking out for?
To be very honest, I think as brand owners, the onus is on us to guide a consumer without asking them to consume too much. I feel there's overconsumption right now. There are so many trends and consumers are just confused, and they don't understand that skincare requires patience, skincare requires time. Jumping from one product to another is not going to solve their purpose. It's only going to lead to wastage. I feel consumers need to be very clear what they're looking for. If they're looking for something really organic, they'll need to understand that there is a patience phase, there is a phase where there's a transition involved. It's not as easy as a commercial product that you just pick off the market shelf and start using it and you don't really feel any different. I mean, it's so funny when sometimes consumer says, oh, I used XYZ product, but yours, it's not controlling odor for more than these many hours, for example, a deodorant. But that's the basic difference between an organic deodorant and a commercial deodorant, right?
Correct.
Like a organic might give you 6 to 8 hours of freshness as opposed to a commercial one that might be laden with synthetic fragrances and the likes, and that might last you for 20 hours, 24 hours, right? And even in the natural category, there are brands that are using synthetic fragrances. So how do you watch out? And if you are honest about what you choose, if you're choosing to go organic, then you'll need to be honest with yourself as well.
So is there anything that they can look up for, that ingredients
Absolutely. I think it's important to read the label, because for us, juicy chemistry started by reading a label.
And the certifications, do they help for the customers to gain trust?
I think so, absolutely. I mean, it's a differentiator, right? Today, what happens is brands, like I say, the onus is a lot on brands to be honest and transparent, because a lot of times you see brands play around with words, right? Like made with EcoCert Cosmos organic ingredients. I mean, there's a huge difference with made with and an actual certified organic product, because when the finished product goes under certification, right from your label, your packaging, your ingredient list, every stage is checked. But when you're making it with a certified organic ingredient, it means that amongst a plethora of ingredients, you're using 1 or 2 certified organic ingredients. So I think consumers need to get smarter and brands need to get more honest. I feel brands today are, in it more in terms of marketing and jumping on trends as opposed to really being responsible towards their consumers. So
at Juicy Chemistry, what process do you have to procure raw materials? How do you audit and how do you maintain the hygiene and purity?
That's a good part with having certifications, because what happens is the audits are done for you. All of the farms that we work with go through 2 audits a year through the agencies, be it USDA, be it EcoCert, and the basic philosophy at Juicy was always to make sure we source from the source. Like a tea tree does not grow in India.
Okay.
It mainly is native to Australia or South Africa. It's native.
Is that so?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So we have gone and taken that effort to go to Australia and source that particular ingredient without a middleman, because you don't know if there's any adulteration happening, you don't know if there's any compromise in quality, you don't know if there's somebody selling you an older stock.
That's
with a
right.
certification process, all of that is done for you.
Right.
So we get our tea tree only from Australia. It's the same with Indian sandalwood, right? We get asked a lot, why don't you get sandalwood from India? But there are no specific regulations, right? There is a lot of grey area when it comes to getting sandalwood from India.
Okay.
But from Australia, which is the second highest when it comes to sandalwood, it's a native. Australian sandalwood has beautiful properties. So
Okay.
our idea is to source the ingredient directly from the source, from its native. Like an olive oil will not grow in India.
That's right.
It'll only happen in the Mediterranean region. So if I have to get the best quality olive oil, and if I say olive oil, does the consumer understand the difference between a pomace or a virgin or an extra virgin? I mean, what do I want to give my consumer? Which is the best quality for them?
Okay.
These kind of differentiations is what we at Juicy Chemistry have strived to do to ensure that you get the best quality. I mean, if you see a pomace grade, that's mainly used for massages because it's processed in a different format. So we
Okay.
get from award-winning farms in Spain. We directly work with the farmers and we get the ingredients.
That's wonderful.
So yeah, that's how the ingredient journey has been. And because for us, there's no dependency on any other ingredient.
Right.
You know, we can't get you a lab-made ingredient and say, you know, 2% of this particular ingredient is going to give it this XYZ performance.
Yeah.
For us, it's depending on the natural benefits, and if the nutrient profile of that ingredient is phenomenal, it's going to transfer on application.
Okay. And what is the research, formulation, manufacturing, and the packaging like at Juicy Chemistry?
You know, from day one, it's been Pritesh and me.
Okay.
It's
So the most research is done by you both?
yes. The
Okay.
ingredient research, how to identify, to actually go through research papers, study them in depth and understand. Say if I say cacao plum has ascorbic acid, I should have research papers backing it, plus the product that I get from my supplier or manufacturer, it should show that this actually has vitamin C, right? So
And the formulation happens?
the formulation Pritesh takes care of.
Really?
And yes, so we have now formulators on board as well, but the idea, the actual base formulation, everything is planned by Pritesh.
Okay.
So yeah.
And what thought has been put behind packaging?
We started slow, you know, when we wanted to start with the packaging. For us, the idea was very simple. It had to be recyclable, it had to be, you know, sustainable. To be very honest, I stay away from talking too much about packaging because I think no matter what you do with beauty industry, there is a lot of wastage in terms of packaging because,
Right.
you know, when you say recycling also, not everything goes through the recycling bin, you're right? Like not, consumers are not okay with taking that effort and doing what is required unless it's the brand, you know, which is collecting back the packages or taking that effort of recycling. You don't see that happen very cautiously. So while we've done our best to ensure like 95% of my packaging is glass with aluminium or paper, and then the balance 5% is highly recyclable PETG bottles approved by EcoCert.
Okay.
We even have to submit like pump drawings and everything to EcoCert. To ensure that it can be recycled and so on. So we try our best, but I think it's still a long way to go in terms of packaging.
And also we need more alternatives, I guess, to also...
Yeah, I mean, you know, funnily, you know, the industry wants sustainable options, but to be very honest, like right now I was looking for an alternate to glass because, you know, if you want to increase your distribution, you want to start sending it out internationally, even in larger quantities, glass is not the most practical option because if one thing breaks and leakage happens, the entire package is destroyed. But
Absolutely.
you know, I was looking for these innovative options where, you know, packaging has been done through sugarcane with wheat,
Cornstarch.
cornstarch. You know, it's so expensive.
Yeah.
3x the cost of glass.
Wow.
And even if you go through like post-consumer recyclable plastic, the cost is really high. And then again, there are like, you know, so many underlying words that you need to see in the certificate of analysis, you know, like it's 30% PCR and 70% PETG. So is it 100%? Is it 70%? The price points are so different and so difficult to make that change, because, you know, you want to try and bring about that change, but when you do a price change to tell your consumer that you've done it because of this, they're not happy.
They're not
to pay.
willing to pay.
They don't want to pay that.
Right.
Like my paper tubes, you know, I've tried with the push deodorant. We wanted to do like a twist. The inner layer is plastic.
Right.
So everything is like an eye wash. And if you want to do 100% paper tube, which I do for my deodorants, the problem is in summer, you know, it will melt a little bit. If the oil seep into the paper, consumers not happy about it, right? They'll be like, oh, you sent me a damaged product, you need to refund. So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I think sustainability is a very large word, and
we should do as much as you can, you know, the maximum
I think
can be put into
brands
that.
are going to take a long way to go, and consumers need to support brands for it to actually be successful.
Right. So what is your idea of sustainability and how do you practice that at your workplace?
You know, it's all the small steps that we are trying to take, you know, and we started it very slowly. We started omitting bubble wrap, shrink wrapping, you know, the out of plastic packaging. I think now the next goal is to remove the plastic tapes that we use. I think because paper tape is ridiculously expensive, and also they don't sometimes survive through
I've had this
the
problem.
rough mishandling what transport guys do, and especially during the rains it's very difficult. So we're trying to make these small tweaks. I keep telling the team, you know, it's about how you personally want to make that effort. So usage of paper is reduced. We use a lot of, you know, recyclable paper, a lot of recyclable printing work that we try to do, even if we want to do with the outer box and so on. Personally, you know, I've tried to omit like leather from my life, and you know, changed into clothing that's just 100% like cotton or linens and the likes.
Fibers,
the natural fibers. And you try to do your best, and then, you know, every other day you see like this one big awareness article that, do you know how much liters of water it takes to do this and that. So we're just trying to really do baby steps. I think just telling the team also to make basic shifts, like bringing your own water bottle and you know, trying to literally, trust me, just
not order
not
food from outside.
No, I think I'll tell you, we are guilty of that. We do Swiggy here and there, because sometimes it's the savior, right? Like in the night if you're working, especially late night. So, but try to reduce it. Yes, we try to reduce it. We try to do a lot of
On a personal front, what do you do at home which stands as sustainability?
Oh, you know, at home, it's funnily after Juicy, because we got so conscious, we've reduced so many things. You know, we eat everything at home. Most of it is home cooked meals.
Oh, wonderful.
Very simple stuff. Like I said, you know, for me, it is a conscious choice to go into using everything vegan, trying to consume less. I'm somebody who doesn't like to shop, hoard. And I'm consciously trying to put that across, you know, with family members as well, on how to live a more sustainable life. But I think when you try to preach too much, it doesn't work. I think when you make those small changes, everybody around you notices it.
Absolutely.
I think I've gone too much into, you know, supporting craftsmen and, you know, trying to go down that route where I can really make a difference to somebody's life.
Fabulous.
And, so it's very small. Like I said, it's really, really small. But even like, in office, you know, when you talk about cleaning liquids and all, we've gotten more to do with neem oil. You know, we use only those. We use a lot of baking soda and lemon and.
I will probably send you a sample kit from Vedas. We acquired this brand.
Oh wow!
Which is all natural.
Oh, fabulous.
Using essential oils, so probably I'll send you that. You can try it for your office.
Would be great, you know, because I mean, even EcoCert asks you to comply to that. You can't use, you can't use industrial detergents.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so on. So that's what I tell everybody. It's not just the product certification. With EcoCert, you have a lot of other responsibilities, and that's what makes us more special. You know,
I didn't know this. This is fabulous.
Yeah, they're very conscious about what kind of detergents they use, liquids they use, and up until like before the pandemic, I think they had like physical inspections happening. Their team would come in from France or Singapore or wherever they're sitting out of, and do an audit twice a year. So
wow,
yeah.
this is fab.
Yeah.
So how are the investors looking at impact-based businesses, and do you think D2C brands are attracting a lot more investors like never before?
There's definitely a wave. You know, I don't follow much in terms of what the trends are, but I do feel that there is a huge interest. But I think you also need to be a differentiator. You can't just be doing the same thing and getting, you know, wanting an investment. And I think what happens is today investors want to also see more of how the founders operate. It's not just about the brand, it's about the founders as well. The onus comes down to them, how they are, how they've built this brand. I think that's a very big point that I personally noticed during the fundraise. We've been very fortunate to be a part, you know, have investors that are very patient, that want us to grow in a sustainable manner. You know, the idea is not to just rush in an unsustainable manner and just grow the company to a point and, you know, have nothing to show for, right? Just numbers which come at a very heavy cost. We're very blessed that we don't have that kind of pressure. So I think investors today want to invest in smart D2C brands and, you know, brands that have been able to call a category their own. Like I think when we talk about organic, I can safely say that people can think of juicy chemistry, you know, that the name comes to the mind is juicy chemistry. I think you need to have your core proposition right. You need to ensure that it's not a mix of little bit of this, little bit of that. I think that differentiator is very important. But yeah.
Super. What are your expansion plans?
You know, I think retail seems very interesting at the moment. It seems like, you know, things have opened up and people want that physical contact. And so definitely with our first store in Chennai, outside of Coimbatore, the response has been great. We hope to have more store-in-stores and physical stores in metros, at least from the company, by end of this year, a few of them at least. We are venturing into India's first certified organic makeup line. We're launching an entire range of...
that's exciting.
Yes, it's work in progress, and we're extremely excited about it, because I feel there's a gap in terms of, you know, finding the right foundation match for Indian skin tone, finding the right concealer for Indian skin tone. And we've worked with a makeup consultant to get the right shades, you know, because I always used to wonder, whenever somebody came to dress me up, you know, they would use like a blend of 2 or 3 international shades and try to get the shade right. And when I'd say, why can't you use any other product? And they're like, nee, shade mil nahi raha hai, you know, like I can't find the right shade. And I think there is a gap, and with the kind of awareness people have for using ingredients that are skin loving, it just made sense to blend in skincare with makeup, not replace skincare, but at least, you know, people who want to enjoy makeup once in a while don't really need to worry about it clogging their pores or it causing any long-term damage or any of that, right? Because it needs to feel comfortable on the skin, and
especially in tropical climate.
Yes, and I like to say, like, it's makeup for dummies, right? Like for me, somebody like me, I don't know anything about makeup. Like literally, I'm colorblind. Like I need somebody to match my foundation, and I'm super clumsy. I can't do makeup. Like for me, makeup all these years has been just a kajal and a light lipstick or something like that. So I want it to be effortless. I want it to be something they can just put on and feel comfortable if they have a meeting, you know, just 5 minutes. And so that's the idea with the makeup line, and it's going to be called Color Chemistry. So I'm really excited to, it's going to come this year. So that's the big plan with Juicy, and create a larger market share in the organic.
So what do you think is the connection between ecology and economy?
Again, I think it'll be a lot to do with what I said in terms of sustainability, right? I think it's a cycle, and you'll have to ride through it, and you'll have to understand how you can make a better impact as far as your company is concerned. I'll give you a small example. You know, at Juicy there's hardly any wastage because we don't use ingredients that cause any kind of external output, right? Like if I'm using fruits and fresh juices in my soaps, the fodder actually goes for compost, it actually goes for feeding cattle and so on, right? The entire end process. So
the waste is managed.
The waste is managed completely. You know,
Wonderful.
we do a lot of composting, we do a lot of feeding of cattle, and like one of the soaps uses rice water in it. So when we cook rice, you know, it's fed into the temple. You know, we send it out for people. So there's very less wastage that happens. So I think it's something about how each company wants to identify and understand how they can bring in ecology and blend in with the economy of their company. I think it's very important.
Wonderfully said. So last thing, I usually ask my guests to make one resolution to make their life more conscious and more sustainable. Would you like to make one resolution on my show?
I think the one thing I want to really stop is, I think twice a week I order tea from outside and it comes in that tea flask. And it kills me. It feels really, really bad that, you know, I'm ordering tea, you know, just for myself, and it comes in this big carton which has like inner layers and so on. Right. And I know for a fact that those inner layers can't be recycled very easily because, you know, when we were in talks with somebody for sheet mask, you know, I was this close to launching it, and because it was completely biodegradable and all of that, but the outer packaging requires multiple layers of microplastic which cannot be recycled.
That's right.
So I actually scrapped that entire project. So I'm really trying hard to stop ordering this
tea that you order.
Trying to make something in-house. I don't want to even use those dip tea bags, right? Like for tea or coffee. I've been telling Pritesh we need to stop that.
So you're pretty sustainable that way. Yeah. I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Thank you.
Such an insightful conversation and so committed to what you're doing, and no wonder Juicy Chemistry has this place in the market.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. It's an honor, and I feel each brand, you know, we have miles to go before we sleep. So
it's always best to look at things that way. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching this episode. Hope you all have something meaningful to take back. See you all next week. Signing off, Shilpa Reddy.